No makeup this time either. I'm just slowly becoming more and more disheveled on camera, but I don't really care. Hi, my name is Hannah. I am a Christo-pagan witch, and I know full well what it can feel like when your witchcraft practice is just starting to feel a little lackluster. It's getting repetitive. Maybe you're burnt out, or maybe you're just bored, or it's just kind of the same old, same old. So we're going to talk about some things that you can do to figuratively and literally bring the magic back to your practice. Here's the tea. We're just going to jump right into it. The first thing that you can do is read about a new witchcraft practice. Maybe you are primarily a green witch or an astrologer, or you focus more on divination. Even if you're not particularly interested in doing a new practice, just reading about it and learning about it, you might be able to take a little bit from it and apply it to your own practice. It'll get your wheels turning. It'll keep you interested in new things. That's really the biggest thing and the biggest theme that you'll see across this video is trying new things to, like I said, get your practice kind of back into gear. But yeah, learning about a new practice. If you primarily work with Greek deities, read about Norse paganism. Even if you don't plan on approaching that kind of practice or approaching those deities anytime soon, it can just kind of help your mind reset and help you, flow back into your practice with a fresh perspective. Next, try a different kind of spell. If you typically work with candles, make a spell jar or a simmer pot. Vice versa with all of those things, right? Or if you typically do spells for protection, like obviously if you're a beginner, right? We always tell you like do protection spells. But like if there's one type of spell you find yourself doing more often, just try something different. Maybe try a money spell. Even if you're doing good financially, I mean, you might need something, right? A little extra money never hurt, right? Or, just a different, you could try a binding, or, one of those spells that you see on Witch Talk and you're like, I don't know if I can do something like that. Give it a shot with whatever resources you have available to you, or make a new tool for your practice. Make moon water in a different way. Make holy water, make some oils like protection oil or money oil that you can use in your practice. Just trying different things will help bring that pizzazz back into your practice. Next, we have the age-old thing that everyone tells you to do to reconnect with your practice, but it really does work. Go outside. Go on a stupid walk for your stupid mental health. It works. I'm sorry. I understand that some people may have like chronic pain or illness or mobility issues, or you might live in an apartment. I am very lucky that I can just walk downstairs and go into my backyard. Not everyone has the ability to do that, and I totally understand. But just in whatever capacity that you are able to, that's going to look different for everyone, go outside when you can. And remember that the elements all have spirits. You don't have to work with those spirits, but just like feel the spirit of the air, the sun, like feel the spirit of fire. If you're near like a pond or a river, or even if it's been raining, remember the spirit of the water. Touch grass, the spirit of the earth. Just connecting with all of those things, even for a few minutes, will really bring that, like you're connecting to spirits, you're connecting to the spirit realm, and that can really get you back in touch with your own spirit and your own magic as well. If you're able to, the next thing that I recommend is looking back on your old spells. If you've ever written them down, whether it's in the notes app on your phone, sloppily in a notebook, or if you have like a pretty grimoire or book of shadows, especially if you can find your first grimoire or your first book of shadows, partly for nostalgia, that will get you back in touch with that feeling when you were first starting out and everything was new and exciting, if you can remember what that felt like and kind of bring a little of that back into your practice now, and just remember why you got started in the first place, that can help you to reconnect. But there's also, I don't know if I already said this, but like the nostalgia factor from looking back at the things that you wrote down when you were just starting out. But then also, you might look at some things and cringe. I certainly do in looking at some of my first spells. But you might also come across something that's like, that's not too bad. Maybe I'll try that again, but maybe tweak some things now that I know a little more. Another thing that you can do is try a new divination method. If you are typically into tarot or oracle, you can try pendulums, or you can try cards if it's not typically something that you're into. I usually do tarot. I do bone throws. You can also do osteomancy. You don't have to use bones. You can use cinnamon sticks. You can do charm throws. That's, maybe that's, I did a whole osteomancy podcast, on Spotify, so you can find that one to learn more about that. I also just did a podcast on these dowsing rods, which is the new form of divination that I have been exploring. And it has brought that spark and figuratively that magic a little bit back into my practice, because it's something new and exciting. And even if you don't think you're gonna be any good at it, it still brings back that excitement from when you were a beginner, and that can be really helpful. If you work with deities, reread their myths and legends. It can just give you a bit of a fresh perspective about them. And who knows, maybe there's something about them that you've forgotten about, or an epithet or a trait of theirs that's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. And that can give you an even fresher perspective of who they are and a different way of working with them. Or maybe deities tend to have multiple aspects, right? So take Karnanos, for example. He has a death aspect and the god of the wild things aspect. So if you've been working with his wild things aspect, maybe switch over to his death aspect and see what that might be like. If you've been working with Loki in his masculine form, maybe switch over to the feminine form. Especially if they are a patron deity of yours and they're probably going to be in your space like forever, you want to have the full range of that deity. Read a book, real or fictional. Fantasy books that involve people who are witches or magicians or who have powers can bring that sense of like whimsy back into your practice. Again, like when you were a beginner and everything was so exciting and fun. My hair is so frizzy. Or like, where was I? Or reading a book on like real witchcraft. The empty books on your shelves that you swear you're gonna read and you never do. Pick one of them up. If you're in the broom closet or you just have a hard time, obtaining books, there's also witchy magazines. Which reminds me, last month, so March, I had an article in the March edition of Witch Way magazine, which is a digital magazine, and it's very budget friendly, but they do have some physical items as well, which is called the Grimoire Society, and I had a little column in this month's edition of that as well. There's spell walkthroughs, recipes, horoscopes, and hot takes, and I wrote a hot take. It's super budget friendly. If you're in the broom closet, this would be really easy to hide. Or you can get the actual magazine, which is also very budget friendly and is virtual, so you can have it on your phone, your tablet, computer, what have you. Learn new things. Start doing some witchy self-care. Say affirmations to yourself while you're doing your skincare. Take a ritual bath. If you don't have a bathtub, you can take a ritual shower. You can have like water-safe crystals like quartz on your shelves in your bath or your shower. You could put herbs in a little organza bag and hold it over the shower head. Those like shower steamer things, find one that is a scent that matches your intentions. Make some tea that matches your intentions. Say An incantation for peace over your favorite blanket. The possibilities are endless. Visit a metaphysical shop or like a market in your area. I know not everyone has a metaphysical shop in your area, but if you do, even if you can't buy anything, just walking around can give you inspiration for things that you can do in your practice. If you have any like farmers markets, or as we get into fall again, like Halloween festivals that have people who sell witchy things or tarot readers or things like that. Again, even if you don't plan on buying anything, just seeing what all is out there can bring you some really good inspiration. If you are able to, there's nothing wrong with getting like virtual tarot card readings or bone throws or whatever. Like I do that and some people really enjoy that. But there's also a lot to be said about connecting with another person, with getting an in-person reading, and that can be extremely valuable. So try that too. And if you don't have a brick and mortar metaphysical shop in your area, browse through some online, because some of the materials that certain people have on their websites, you might be like, wow, I never thought of that. And even if you can't buy it, maybe you can incorporate something similar into your practice. It'll still give you inspiration. I have a shop you can scroll through, by the way, link in the description. Watch witchy movies and TV shows. Even though they're dramatized, Hollywood, all that, there's nothing wrong with enjoying those things. I love the craft. I do. I love it. Even though it's so Hollywood. But there are a lot of things that are accurate, and it does. It gives me a lot of inspiration, and is another one of those things that reminds me what was so exciting about my practice when I was first starting out. Music. Music can be pivotal to your practice. Making playlists for your deities, certain intentions. If you follow me on TikTok and you hit the link in my bio on TikTok, you'll have to scroll a little bit, but you'll find a witchy Spotify playlist that I have made for anyone who wants to listen to it. If you are on Patreon, or if you're in the musical mages tier and above, you'll have access to the playlists that I make for my deities. And if you come across a playlist for a deity that is not one of mine or that I haven't shared, send it to me and I'll share it with everyone. It can be your regular everyday music as long as it brings you inspiration. There are witchy artists like Carolee or Kiki Rockwell that are really amazing and have really witchy music. But if you don't want to use that sort of thing, if you're looking for something more mystical, look up Gregorian chants. They're typically used in churches, but man, even if you're not Christian witch, they are so enchanting. They can be great for meditation, to have on in the background while you're doing your spell work. It brings that element of like, ooh, this is really mystical into your spell work or whatever it is that you're doing. What is this piece of hair doing? Something else you can do in the same vein of making your practice more mystical is finding like fantasy themed music, or if there's any sort of fantasy movies that just have an amazing soundtrack. Have that going on in the background while you're doing your spells or meditating or making oil sprays, whatever it is that you're got going on. I love the Skyrim soundtrack. I love it. Is one of the best soundtracks of all time. So when I'm making like jars for my shop or the oils and stuff, I mean, nothing makes me feel like ye old potion maker or like the village witch that you would go to get a charm for measles or something. That is what the Skyrim soundtrack makes me feel like. And most importantly, when I'm doing things for work, it doesn't make it feel like work. Because no matter how much I love witchcraft, no matter how much I love my job, at the end of the day, it is still a job, and sometimes it feels like a job. But I don't want my craft to feel like a chore. And for some reason, man, just something as simple as putting on a really whimsical soundtrack helps that so much. Lastly, in the same vein as like putting on fantasy music, guys, I saved the weirdest one for last, but it works. okay? I promise. My last and weirdest tip for re-enchanting your practice is pretending that you are a fantasy character. Hear me out. I do bone throws, osteomancy throws, primarily for deity identification for you guys. And because I know someone will ask, those restock every Sunday at 10 a.m. EST on my store. But again, it's one of those things that has started to feel like a job, has started to feel like, oh, I gotta do the bone throws. But the thing with that especially is, you know, I'm using actual bones, ethically and humanely sourced, but still, the bones of an actual animal, and I am trying to connect with the spirit of that animal. And I don't want her, my fox spirit, to feel like a burden or a chore. So trying to find ways especially to make that feel more whimsical has been something that I'm trying to do. So I almost put myself in like a Skyrim-esque universe in my head, and like the weird village lady that sitting on the ground tossing bones, and everyone's walking by like, what the f is this? But then there's that one person who knows that this witch with the bones holds the key to their destiny. I don't know why, but it helps me not get bored with the bone throw. Or like pretending to be the weird mountain lady in Dolly Parton's song, These Old Bones. By the way, the fact that no one has ever asked me to make like Skyrim themed oils, like enhanced stamina, ultimate healing, increased magicka. I want someone to do that. Even though we believe that witchcraft is real, there's nothing wrong with playing pretend alongside it to make it feel more whimsical. And also, by doing so, you're treating your inner child. So it can even be a form of shadow work by doing that. That's all I have for today. I hope that was able to help someone who might be feeling like their practice is just kind of meh. I don't know what, I'm out of ideas. I might work on a deity work video with Jesus, because I know some people will be really curious about that from the Christian witch perspective. So that might be what I do next, but I'm doing a good job at uploading pretty regularly. I need more watch hours in order to qualify for monetization. So if you've never seen any of my other videos, definitely go do that. Make sure you hit subscribe. My store, my Patreon, and all of my other stuff will be linked in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.